Thank you for the introduction. Glad to meet a lot of new friends here. I'm Fengrui YAO from University of Geneva, a senior postdoc from Alberto Mopilgu group. And today my talk is about proving 2D interlayer magnetism with a magnetic transport measurement. And as we all know, as last few years, we see a lot expansion of 2D family, especially the 2D magnets. It allows us to explore magnetism down to monolayer. And since these 2D materials, their states are almost at their interface, so their properties are highly tunable. They can be tunable by doping, pressure, and also by these interlayer stackings. As we know recently, these stackings can be changed by interlayer twisting, which can cause coexistence of different stackings, and it can be a very hot topic in condensed matter physics. But besides twisting, these stackings can also be changed by interlayer twisting. That means interlayer sliding. It means sliding one layer relatively to the other layer. You can also change the stackings, and the other way is to induce a differential strain between these two layers. That means when you expansion one layer relative to the other layer, it can also cause these Mori patterns and coexistence of different stackings. And here today I'm going to talk about these magnetic states changed by interlayer sliding and the interlayer differential strain. So to understand how to change its magnetic properties, we need to understand what's the basic for magnets. The magnetic property is mainly determined by the exchange interaction G and also this anisotropy. If the anisotropy is very strong, this layer magnetic can be antiferro and also can be ferro magnetic based on this sign, based on the sign of interlayer exchange interaction. And if this anisotropy is not so strong between ferro and antiferro, it can be this non-collinear magnetic order. So how to prove this? Our main method is using magnetic transport to prove this. Different materials we usually use different method. Usually for large band gap magnetic materials, we use this kind of junction where the magnetic material is sandwiched between two graphene contacts. And since their tunneling barrier is strongly dependent on this magnetic order, thus this conductance can reflect its magnetic order change. And for the semiconductor, we usually are using the field effect transistor by applying the top gate or by applying one single gate or double gate. We can see this transistor transfer curve, and the threshold of transfer curve is strongly dependent on its magnetic order, since magnetic order can effectively change its conduction band. And the last, for metal, we can prove it by anomalous Hall effect, since this its switching or magnetization will induce a sharp change in its anomalous Hall signal. So today, what I'm going to talk about is based on this tunneling junction. One is about we observe the multi-magnetic states in this chrome bromide tree, which can be realized by these magnetic states can be seen stackings with different interlayer sliding. So for the basic chrome bromide tree, the chrome bromide atom is formed honeycomb lattice, and each chromium is surrounded by 6 bromide atoms. Since its anisotropy is strong, so for the monolayer, its ferromagnetic order with its magnetic moments along the z direction, that is outplane direction. Like I said before, for the multilayers, it can be antiferro or ferri based on the sign or interlayer exchange action. One can easily imagine, since this interlayer exchange action is strongly determined by its atomic distance, thus it can be ferri and antiferri. As I said previously, these stackings can be changed by interlayer sliding, but we only care about 3 slidings here because according to DFT calculations, only these 3 slidings have local minimum energy. That is, only these 3 stackings is possibly stable. They are AA stacking, which the top layer chromium is lie exactly on the bottom of chromium layers, and monoclinic stacking, where the top layer is shifted relatively 1/3 relatively to the bottom layer, and also the AB stacking, where the chromium of the top layer, one chromium of top layer, is lie on the center of the bottom layer, honeycomb or lattice of bottom layer, and also calculation shows that AA stacking and monoclinic stacking will be antiferromagnetic, since the interlayer change action will be positive, and AB stacking will be ferromagnetic, since their interlayer exchange is negative. So the question is it possible to prove experimentally, especially using the non-local method like transport? So it remains a long-standing question here. I will show by making tunnel junctions and combine with Raman spectroscopy, we successfully prove these 3 states. And the structures detailing is like this. The tunneling junction is the tunneling junctions is assembled by pick-up and transfer technique, and the chrome bromide is sandwiched by 2 graphene contacts, and it acts the tunneling barrier. The transport in this geometry can be understood by affine tunneling, where the tunneling current is strongly dependent on the barrier height or their barrier height. Since the barrier height is strongly dependent on its magnetic order, thus the spin flip of these materials can induce jump or conductance. That's why we use magnetic conductance to reflect its spin flip, especially for antiferromagnets. One work of our group is about antiferromagnetic chrome iodide by measuring the magnetic conductance as a function of electric field. We see there are 2 sharp jumpings. The lower jumping is corresponding to the spin flip of inner or outer layers, and this the other jump is corresponding to the spin flip of outer layers. And the second jump, the value of second jump is twice as the first jump, and this is measured at a sample with around 10 layers. One can imagine if they're bilayer, there could only exist one jump at lower field, since it only needs flip the outer layer, and for trilayer, the jump will be at twice this value, because the flip will cause the inner layers to flip. That's why the exchange energy will be double, and only for 4 layers and above, these 2 jumps will show. And different from these antiferromagnetic states, previously for chrome bromide tree, we also measure its tunneling conductance. We see the tunneling conductance is very small with no jump, and the amplitude is is relatively small as a function of magnetic field, since its spin is already aligned spontaneously at a zero electric field. But when we imagine more simples, we also found they can also show jumps. Here is a file representative chrome bromide tree devices, and if we do summary these jumps, we can solve these jumps can be assigned two groups. One is lower at 0.2 and twice its value. The other is at 0.5 and twice its value. It's a strong indication that there exist two different antiferromagnetic phases. Considering its amplitude of the jump position, we call it S-type and L-type in the following. So recall here, using tunneling measurements, we measuring these two antiferromagnetic phases. But considering the DFT calculations, there are also two stakings will show the antiferromagnetic behavior. But how to correlate these two magnetic states to these different stakings? We use polarized Raman. For this ferromagnetic AB stakings, since it has three rotation symmetry along this region, they only show two peaks without show polarization dependent behavior, where the polarization is measured with incident R and outside light with parallel or perpendicular. We call it X and XY here. And for monoclinic stacking, since its three rotation symmetry is broken, we expect its Raman is splitting. This is exactly what we saw in the simple with L-type stacking. And again, for the simple showing only S-type stakings, we saw these two degenerate Raman without polarization-dependent behavior, because AA staking is also keeps the three rotation symmetry. So this peak will not split. So based on here, combine this tunneling magnetic transport, we identify there are three magnetic phases exist in chrome bromide tree, and by combine the Raman spectroscopy, we assign this magnetic phase to their stakings. One interesting question is, what's the difference of their properties, since they are exist using the same monolayer but different stakings here? Like I said before, here I show first we compare their tunneling magnetic inductance. For antiferro, they show very large jump, and the amplitude of magnetic inductance is very huge, more than 10 times larger than ferromagnetic one. And by measuring when we align the magnetic field in plane, we also see the same trend. And by extract these spin flip positions with out-plane magnetic field and in-plane magnetic field, we can extract this magnetic anisotropy chrome bromide tree, which is much smaller than chrome iodide, which indicates chrome bromide tree is a very good candidate for realizing non-collinear phase. And the other, by measuring this temperature-dependent conductance, we can extract its critical temperature of these three different types. For this ferromagnet, we can see their critical temperature is very close, since their critical temperature is mainly determined by the interlayer exchange. But they are slightly different because their interlayer exchange is slightly different, because larger interlayer exchange will induce larger critical temperature. And also, by measuring the temperature dependent magnetic inductance, we can extract this physigram of antiferro and ferri. For antiferro, when we increase the magnetic field up, this jump will become smaller. and gradually disappeared around the near temperature. And but for ferromagnetic, at low temperature, the magnetic inductance is very small. But at the temperature around the critical temperature, the magnetic inductance is very strong due to the divergence of suspectability. So it's a middle summary. We identify these 3 different magnetic states, and by combining the Raman, we identify their stakings and we compare their properties. And the second, I will talk about second part. I will talk about we also observe the coexistence of ferri and antiferri by the interlayer differential string. This is realized by replacing one graphene contact using FGT. FGT is a ferromagnetic metal. Using this kind of structure, one can apply positive pairs where the current will generate from FGT to graphene side, and we can also apply a negative voltage where the current is injected from graphene to FGT side. When we inject the current from FGT side, since it's a ferromagnetic metal, this current will be spin polarized. That's why we see the hysteresis here when we sweep the magnetic up or down. This is because this hysteresis is caused by different switching field of FGT and chrome bromide tree. When these 2 materials, their magnetic moment is parallel, the conductance will lower, and when the magnetic moment is antiparallel, their conductance will larger. This is called the spin-wave effect. When we inject current from graphene side, since graphene is not spin polarized, we didn't see the hysteresis. But surprisingly, under these 2 conditions, we all observe this positive background, which is to show it clearly. We show the background here. No matter we inject current from which side, we observe this background. This background, the amplitude is relatively larger than ferromagnetic, but it shows some small jumps, which is indication of antiferro. So this phenomenon is a strong indication that there is a coexistence of antiferro and ferro and FGT. To further prove this, this coexistence is indeed induced by FGT. We made this kind of device with 1 chrome bromide tree, but 2 tunneling junction. 1 tunneling junction is FGT chrome bromide tree graphene. The other is just graphene and chrome bromide tree graphene. As we expect, when we only use graphene as electrodes, we measure this. We observe these small magnetic conductance with no jumps. And when we use FGT as one of the electrodes, we observe this relatively larger magnetic inductance with small jumps. So here, we have clear evidence that under FGT, it's because FGT induces coexistence antiferro and ferro, and this coexistence antiferro and ferro is a strong indication of marine magnetism. And to further prove this, we also prove the Raman, polarized Raman without FGT, only on chrome bromide tree, and also with FGT, that means under FGT. Surprisingly, without FGT, we again saw no polarized dependent behavior. It means only AB stakings here. And under FGT, we saw polarization dependent behavior, which means under FGT, there could be coexistence structures of antiferri and ferri. But this is measured at low temperature. Surprisingly, when we done the same measurements at room temperature, we didn't observe polarization-dependent Raman spectroscopy, both without FGT part and with FGT part. So what's mechanism why FGT can induce this Moiré magnetism of chromometry? Our picture is, since this histostructure is assembled at room temperature, so basically at room temperature there will be no strain in chromometry, and when you're cooling down this temperature, because there is a strong different thermal expansion of FGT and chromometry, the chromometry layers close to FGT will follow the trend of FGT. That's why it will, the layer close FGT and the far away FGT will experience different implant strain. This implant strain can be biaxial or uniaxial. To further confirm this, we done DFT calculations with certain implant differential strain, which is shown red curve here, and the blue curve is our experimentally. The theory, the result shows indeed this differential strain will induce the coexistence of antiferri and ferri, and the switching will match together with these jumps we observe experimentally. So final summary is here. In the first part, I discussed 3 magnetic fields induced by different stackings with different interlayer sliding. And the second part, I talk about this coexistence of antiferri and ferri induced by differential strain, which is the interlayer differential strain can also induce the Moiré besides twisting. Last, I would like to thank all my collaborators in Geneva and in University of Xi'an in China, and also Marco Gibuttini, who did the DFT calculations. Okay, thank you. Thank you.